Sure.
The other horrendous
So this
incident,
upset you? This
It
depressed you?
upset me to realise that I'm now a spotter of spotters, which
Sure.
is obviously an underclass of spotter.
Yes.
I'm not even good enough to spot trains. I spot the people who spot the trains.
You are way down on that chain.
I'm so far down.
Imagine how low that is.
That came after snapping 3 nails sequentially on one hand. It was such a bad afternoon.
That's grim. And this was all at Doncaster.
That was all at York.
That was all at York. York you'd have thought would be
Exactly.
fine. Doncaster, you'd expect terrible things, but York?
But York?
One of the greatest of all train stations.
So that was a sad day. And then this morning, I got butter on my favourite rucksack.
Oh, I cannot believe it. This is unbelievable.
No.
What a bloody week. Do you know what? I'm going to use the word bloody because you have had such a rotten time.
Really
you've got butter on a rucksack.
Not even a rucksack, Steve. My favourite rucksack.
Is it actual butter?
It was melted butter as well. It's not even like I could have just quickly got rid. No, straight in there, straight into the canvas grain. I was sneakily eating a crumpet in the back of a taxi. That's what you get for sneakily eating food in taxi.
Back to rock. I remember learning that phrase in French. I thought I would never have to use it, and there we go. That's terrible. And is there way you can get around it? It's not.
I mean, I haven't got my mum on the case yet, and she's obviously ace with these sort of stains. I don't think I've ever faced her with butter yet, but yes. So hopefully it might be okay. But it was just, when you think, of all the things to get on my rucksack.
I know.
Butter, melted butter.
Steve, have you had any embarrassing stains after crumpet in the back of a taxi?
Now that is why that guy is in here. This man works in a bank.
Yeah, and that's gold.
And this sort of stuff is what he's capable of coming up with.
Frightening.
Let's just rewind, because a lot of people here are thinking that... Wait a minute, a lot of people are thinking that we sat down pre-show and wrote this out, that she was going to tell the absurd butter story, that was the highlight of her bloody week. We thought she's going to tell that just so you can come in and just repeat it for us, because it was dynamite.
Yeah, Steve, so have you ever encountered any stains after crumpet in the back of a taxi?
There is so many things working for him there.
Yeah.
We've got crumpet in the back of a cab.
Yeah.
We've got stains. It's just beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely
It
dynamite.
works on so many levels.
If you could have incorporated train spotters and broken nails.
Yeah.
Do you know, we had that guy in who could play guitar and he can draw and he can sing beautifully and he's really talented and he can rap, but he's no Harry, is he?
This guy can cash your gyro and come up with some smut.
I dedicate that gag to my Facebook friends.
Oh, it's going to shoot up now, Har. They're going to want to see the man behind that joke.
Oh, God.
So, Sammy, we were chatting to you for the simple reason that you were going to recommend a tune to us.
Well, I recommend this tune to cheer myself up a bit. Unfortunately, it's by a band whose name I can't fully pronounce on the radio. I'm going to call them Holy Fluff.
Oh, Holy Fluff.
Now, from me saying the word fluff, I'll assume you know what I
We
mean.
read between the lines.
And it's a song that I thought was actually called Lovely Alien. It's not. It's called Lovely Alan.
Sammy, that was your choice on this week's Steve Show. What was it again?
It was Lovely Alan by Holy Fluff.
There were no words.
There are no words, I know.
What a maniac are you?
I'm right out there with the people. I've seen them live, and it works really well live, them not singing. They play all sorts of instruments, typewriters, 35mm film sequences.
I do worry that that the Holy Fluff label, and we've cleaned that up for the radio, is going to be a problem for them.
Well, if, like you were saying, if they were hardcore punk, I'd understand, but they're not. The name doesn't go with the band.
Yeah.
They should have called themselves Holy Fluff, because they are quite sweet and fuzzy.
Sure. Just like you. Oh, it's that kind of affection that's made this show so unpopular. Okay, so earlier, and I've been struggling all day, and I think most of you guys are going to appreciate how much you've heard the hacking and coughing here in the studio throughout the show, and I've tried to keep it off air. Yeah, exactly, the whinging, the endless whinging.
Yeah.
And so I put out an appeal earlier for doctors, and thankfully a few of you got in touch, and we've managed to track down Dr. Tim. Dr. Tim, are you still there?
I certainly am.
Hello, Dr.
How are
Tim.
you?
I'm very, very pleased that you've got in touch, and, because, as I said before, I've been down to the doctors a few times. It's near Kilburn, and it's grim in there, I'll tell you. I mean,
I can imagine.
Oh, man, like there's, if it's not sort of, the single mums, good luck to them, but they do seem to pop down to the doctors for every single ailment, ingrowing toenail, and so I didn't fancy that, and obviously I'm a bit too cheap to pay for a professional doctor, so it's so lovely that, because I'm a bit worried, because last year I had a very similar complaint, and it turned out it was a chest infection. So is there anything you can do over the morning?
Have you been, how long have you been unwell?
I've only been unwell since probably about Wednesday. No fever.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Just sort of a bit of this sort of nasty chesty cough. A lot of a lot of blowing of the nose.
Yeah. And the sputum. You've been producing sputum, yeah.
I am so pleased that you've used the correct term, sputum. I didn't know what it was. I'm so pleased that we cleaned things up. Sputum has been present, yes.
And what colour are we talking?
I would describe that sputum, Dr. Tim, as being a sort of greeny grey, generally greenish.
Greeny grey, not creamy.
Not creamy, no.
Not creamy. Green suggests a bacteria,
Okay.
a bacterium.
Is that good or bad?
So, which is normally something like Haemophilus or a staph, but not MRSA. You'll be glad to hear.
Okay, so it's not MRSA, because I did drive past that doctor's the other day, so it could have been creeping out of the windows, trying to get into my air conditioning in my car.
But if you're producing sort of greenish grey sputum for a good few days, and then it is probably something, and we don't like to overprescribe antibiotics, of course.
Yes.
But it is something that may warrant a course of antibiotics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's frustrating. So what you're saying is I will have to go to a doctor?
Well, I can't really pop them in the post to you, but
No.
I would if I could. But it's better
Okay.
if you see your own GP.
When you say you can't pop them in the post to me, I mean, are we saying, just between you and I, am I reading between the lines there, Dr. Tim? Or... my GMC registration prevents me from saying anything further. Right, but all I'm saying is, I've got your phone number. You know, it's Sunday night. You're probably not doing anything.
Yeah,
I could probably give you a bell. Where do you live?
And you've had some chest pain with it. Is that right?
Not so much chest pain, just quite a tight chest.
Sorry, a bit.
Quite a tight chest.
A tightness. Is
Yes.
it no sharp pains or
No sharp
sort of
pains.
aches?
No, no sharp pains. Just, as I say, quite hard work when I'm coughing.
And no shortness of breath, particularly just during general
A
things.
little bit of wheezing, and probably get tired quite easily. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I would recommend going back to your GP. There
Oh,
you go,
really?
great doctor's advice. But no,
I could have got this from NHS Direct.
Sorry.
I could have got this information from NHS Direct, Dr. Tim.
Well, yeah. So you make a good point on that.
All they ever do on NHS Direct is go, you better go to your doctor.
Now, perhaps a 5-day course of a 3 times a day tablet of amoxicillin or some erythromycin.
I like
you
the
don't
sound of
want
it.
that. Erythromycin messes up your bowels a bit.
That's the last thing you need.
Can I just ask, generally, with things like this, you know, as I say, you say you're reluctant to prescribe antibiotics. Can I just ride it out, or is it better to get some antibiotics in?
Well, I think if you're producing that kind of phlegm that colour phlegm for a good few days,
Yeah.
then it's probably not going to be viral. It's most likely bacterial.
Oh, damn
So you may get over it. You're young, fit, and healthy.
Says you.
I presume,
Yeah.
physically. Anyway, and you may well get over it, shake it off with a bit of rest. But if it's back to you, and think about getting a prescription, I think.
All right, well, I really appreciate your calling. I've got your number now. I'm not going to lie to you.
Sure.
Every time I've got a slight sniffle, you're going to be on the wireless.
That's all right. And how are your bowels and bladder?
Bowels and bladder, do you know what? I'm always popping to the lavatory. I've got a very weak bladder, and there's a number of other ailments which maybe this could be a feature every week.
Well, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to ask Stephen Merchant about his bowels and bladder, really. I'm not particularly interested otherwise.
Don't be
but
ashamed. I appreciate it. Because
you don't miss an opportunity like this.
it must be a huge thrill for you. Listen, is there anything I can do as a favour? Obviously, this is the BBC. We have got our fingers slapped in the past. I cannot offer you anything by way of a prize. But once
Right.
again, if you're looking for some kind of signed memorabilia, me and Ricky, you could pop it on eBay. Probably get like 25
Well, I
quid.
actually had a meeting with your old friend Ash 6 weeks ago, because as well as being a doctor, I write some comedy. So I had a meeting with Ash, and he had a couple of little toy memorabilia from the office.
So you've already got
in
those
his
attached?
office. Yeah, which he nicked the best ones, obviously, didn't he?
You've already got that, so you don't need anything else. Listen, we'll work something out, Tim. I really appreciate the call. You have a musical choice for us? Is there anything we could play for you as a token of our appreciation?
Yeah, a song I really love, which is 14th Street by Rufus Wainwright.
That's a fantastic choice. There you are. You can hear the cop. That's just a bit of phlegm there. Listen, Dr. Tim, I really appreciate your call, and I'm almost certain we're going to be speaking to you again, and shamelessly using and abusing your 7 years of medical training. And we thank you very much indeed for getting in touch.
Okay, lovely to talk to you.
And you, mate. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye.
14th Street, the choice of Dr. Tim on the Steve Show, and that's Rufus Wainwright, of course, and it's pretty much the end of the show. Has anyone ever so shamelessly abused their power on the radio as that? I imagine Terry Wogan would be heavily reprimanded in the press for such a abuse of power, but thankfully, with no listeners, you can get away with murder.
Well done.
And I've killed several birds with an enormous stone, so I'm really, really pleased with myself.
You've still
chuffed.
You've still got to get yourself down the doctors, though, ultimately, which is a shame, isn't
That
it?
is a massive grind, but at least I know I'm going in there, I can kind of get straight in and out again. Not too much fanning around. We have to apologise to our listener who we were going to get on the phone, who was going to recommend a tune to us, but we didn't have time, obviously, because I had to get Dr. Tim on, and so we'll hopefully catch up with him in future weeks. So apologies if you are listening, and thank you very much indeed to everyone who's contributed to today's show. We've got Harry, we've got Dan, we've got Sammy. Thank you to Ben for pressing the buttons. Thank you to Charlotte for being in the other room and sorting out lots of other things, including tea, and obviously also to Gideon Conn. And his new single, he told us when it was out, and I forget when it was.
December the 3rd.
December the 3rd, so we can check out that. And that, as I say, will be the single of the week on The Breakfast Show all this week. Next week we have live music from Duke Special, which you're very excited about that, Sammy. And next, is it the Freak Zone next?
BBC
6
Music.
Jimi Hendrix, of course, from 1968's Electric Ladyland and Crosstown Traffic. I just remembered that the first time I ever came to London, I went to Covent Garden, as one does, and I saw a man breakdancing to that tune. And I thought, wow, that must be what it's like living in London. It's going to be that rock and roll, that funky. And when I finally moved to London, often now I will drive, in a chauffeur-driven car past that same man. Now we're just, of course, forced to beg and think, wow, things have changed. And here I am in the big smoke. And it's very nice indeed to be here once again. Last week, previously on the Steve Show, I spoke to Dr. Tim. You may recall at the end of last week's show. Rufus, you weren't here, of course, but yeah, Dr. Tim got in touch, very nice of him, and gave me a diagnosis live on the radio. It was on Air Gold, and he said I should go along to the GP and get myself checked out, and he said I might need antibiotics. Damn it, Dr. Tim was only right. I went along to the GP. I've been on antibiotics all week. I've not been very well. I've still got a little bit of a tickly cough here. There was quite a lot of phlegm last week, you may remember, Harry. You were here, it was pretty heartbreaking. So some of that's still there residually just lying in the background, so occasionally you may hear that just croaking up. Apologies to the listeners right off the bat for that, but I'm, on the mend, don't worry. And I'm pleased to welcome back, as I say, Harry, he was here last week. How are you?
Hello.
Good, yeah. We've got Sammy, she was here.
Hello.
Thank you. And we'll welcome back Rufus, who last week could not be with us for reasons you can or cannot tell us.
I think I can tell you, Steve.
Wow.
I was having I don't know what the official term is, but my first conference with the vicar, who's marrying myself and my fiancée.
Ah, I see. And was this intimidating stuff?
It was. I was already. Listeners will know maybe better than I. I don't know whether or not you have to have frequent meetings with the vicar before you get married. I always thought that it was a weekly thing. You have to go to the church quite a lot. You have to, and you do lots of kind of very Victorian kind of soul searching, and lots of rubbing of alcohol over your body or something. I don't know.
What?
Kind of I don't know. Kind of falling to your knees and crying and begging for forgiveness for your sins.
I thought that basically what you do is you've not really ever been to church, and then you start going for about 3 weeks before you get married, and that fools the vicar into thinking somehow you're religious and that you should do the ceremony.
I think they've tried to stamp out the rubbing in church, haven't they?
I think that you're not allowed to rub alcohol in church anymore.
Maybe I was thinking of birching, self-flagellating, that sort of thing. Anyway, it turns out...
You're getting married, you're not becoming a monk.
I know, true. So, we got away pretty easily. The lovely vicar was very, very friendly, asked us about a few hymns and all that sort of thing. I'd done my homework. I got some hymns ready. Praise my soul, King Heaven, Love Divine, Always Excelling, and so on, in order to impress
Did you
him
say
with
it in that sneery sort of tone?
I said it in the way that made it sound like I was familiar with listing hymns that I liked.
Yes, exactly.
I wanted to impress him with the idea that my knowledge of Christian liturgy was, similar as the roof of my mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
That I could whip off 5 or 6 of my favourite kind of Easter hymns.
Yes. Only last night, at the prayer meeting.
That's
you were
right.
Reciting your favourite hymns.
With the family around the upright. Pentecost hymns? Oh, very, very, very different style of hymn altogether.
Right, yeah.
So,
and he was utterly charmed by that, I imagine.
he was absolutely bowled over by